Welcome to the Spinal Chat Podcast by the Pennsylvania Chiropractic Association. In today's very special legacy episode, PCA President Dr. Andrew Heck sits down with Dr. Frank Smith, winner of the PCA Legacy Award and one of the founding members of the Chiropractic Fellowship of Pennsylvania. This interview was recorded at the Northeast Chiro Summit at Seven Springs Resort. A full video of the conversation is available on the PCA website and YouTube channel. Please sit back and enjoy as Dr. Heck and Dr. Smith reflect on Dr. Smith's nearly 60-year career in chiropractic.
What made you want to be a chiropractor?
Now, that's a question that I've been asked so many times, and I honestly have but one answer, and there's no question that it was a calling.
Yeah.
It was because I had no idea. First of all, I'd never been adjusted. I had really little concept of what chiropractic was or is. And a friend of mine, when I was talking to him, and I was working as a draftsman at that time, about a year out of high school. And I told him how frustrated I was, and I just wasn't happy sitting in front of that drafting table looking out the window all the time. And he said, well, I'm going to Palmer College of chiropractic. I'm going to be a chiropractor. I said, really? That's great. He said, I want you to go and meet Dr. Connie Matz, who's a local chiropractor in the Pittsburgh area, the little town of Wilmerding. So I made an appointment. I went down and met with Dr. Connie Matz, and he's just sitting in a real small little office. He was seeing 125 patients a day there. Incredible. People were constantly going there. And he looked at me and he said, you're not happy with what you're doing? I said, no. He said, do you think you'd want to be a chiropractor? I said, I don't know. I don't even know what the hell it is. He said, tell you what, I think you would make a great chiropractor. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm gonna contact Palmer and get you an application form and all that stuff. At the end of, within a week or two, I don't get it in the mail. I looked at it and I said, I guess I'm supposed to go there. Signed the document, got it in there, and I started in October of '62. Was my first class. And I will say this, I still hadn't ever been adjusted, never been under chiropractic care. I think my mother was adjusted by a chiropractor many, many years previously, but that's no concept whatsoever.
Right.
Zero. But in October of '62, our class was about 230, 240, huge. And all our classes were in the main lecture room at Palmer. And the instructor would be up there in the front with a big screen on there and a little graphic thing on there. And it was Dr. Galen Price. He was giving a class in Chiropractic Philosophy 101. And lo and behold, he gets up there and he said, look, I'm going to tell you exactly what chiropractic is. And you'll know what it is, and anything otherwise, it's not. He said, and he drew up this oval shape, and then a circle here and a circle there. He said, this is what we refer to as the safety pin cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. Over here, and he wrote BC, and over here he wrote TC. So this is brain cell, this is tissue cell. And this is called the afferent nerve, and this is the efferent nerve. He says, so these nerves have to go constantly to tell the brain cell, has to tell the tissue cell, and then the tissue cell has to tell the brain cell that he did the job. And if there's an interference in that circle, in that cycle, the brain cell, the tissue cell doesn't know what's going on. And that's basically where you come in as a chiropractor. Your job is to find out where that interference is and fix it.
Yeah.
He said, that's as simple as that. And I looked at that and I said, that makes all the sense in the world. But it's so simple.
Yeah.
And I said, once I saw that, I never looked back.
Yeah.
Not once. To this day, that principle lives in my mind as God's rule. It's nature's rule. It's nature's law. It's just like the law of gravity. What goes up has got to come down. What goes this way has got to come back this way. And if there's an interference in there, it's just like the ball. If you interfere with that ball going up or coming down, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Okay? But it doesn't change the law. The law is the same no matter what. It's the same even where there's very little gravity. It's just slower.
Right.
So therein lies why I went. And I can even remember when I was at Palmer, the very first time I was adjusted by one of the students. I had a student chiropractor back then. And there wasn't a time ever that I thought I had made a mistake, or that I shouldn't be a chiropractor, or that chiropractic wasn't for me, or that chiropractic wasn't what it is. Okay? Now, a lot of times, a lot of people, practitioners, chiropractors, medical doctors, make it out to be something that it's not. It's too simple for them to understand that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with communicating with patients. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
The premise and the philosophy is very basic and principle. In fact, I'm just praying that chiropractic never gives up that principle. You can expand upon it, you can incorporate a lot of things, fine, but don't ever forget the principle that makes us unique. Because without that principle, we're just another methodologist. I pray that we don't go the route of, and I was around whenever osteopathy was absorbed into the medical fraternity. And certainly don't forget about, there used to be chiropodists. Do you know what they were?
No.
Chiropodists were chiros, chiros, podios, hand and foot doctors before they were podiatrists. But they got incorporated into mainstream medicine. But they had to give up. But they had to give up hands, treatment of hands, and they simply had to be podiatrists, which is what they did. So they were podiatrists, and they got accepted into, with the rules and regulations, as long as they lived by the standards of what the medical fraternity designated them, they would be part and parcel of medicine. Okay. And the same thing happened to osteopaths even before the podiatrists.
Yeah.
They had to give up their philosophy, which was basically in a really good parallel to chiropractic, only they said manipulation of the joints, all the joints in the body, was conducive to improving circulation, arterial, venous, and lymphatic. And that in turn, in their philosophy, was it restored the body's ability to heal and to have diseases and conditions corrected. The medical fraternity said, you got to give up that philosophy. If you give that up, we'll bring you in. And they did.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping and praying that chiropractic maintains its individuality, its specific philosophy. Expanded upon, just like all these programs that we're having here today. My son, Dr. Shannon, in functional medicine, great. It can be cooperative, and it can be ancillary, call it whatever you want. But you can't give up that principle. If you do, there's no reason for chiropractic to exist.
Right.
And that ain't gonna happen as long as I'm alive.
Me too.
Okay.
You develop your passion, like understanding this principle that just seems so simplistic. It makes a lot of sense.
It is.
Now, once you go through school, you graduate, what happens?
Well, first of all, I took a little break from Palmer.
Okay.
Okay, I was burned out.
Yeah.
You know, back then you were going quarter to quarter to quarter. We had about a 3 or 4 week break between spring and summer. And myself and a couple of other classmates just felt burned out. And it was 8th quarter, and the next one would have been next one, was the end of 9th quarter, and we had 12th quarter just go. And I just took a break. And I even went back to Dr. Connie Mass, and I said to him, do you think it'd be a problem if I just take a break? He said, no. He said, you're young. He said, you got the rest of your life ahead of you. Go take a break, do this, get a job, do whatever you want. So I did. I was fortunate enough to get a job as a bacteriology technician, a bacteriologist.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Here I'm a chiropractor, I'm playing with organisms, germs and Pseudomonas and E. coli and bacteria. And this job was at a local hospital here in Pittsburgh. And I remember vividly just enjoying doing this bacteriology, isolating bacteria, putting them on petri dishes, looking at them in a microscope, identifying them, and writing them down there, and going through all that technical procedure.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point after a period of time, I got bored with that.
Yeah.
Okay, sitting in this laboratory, okay, and looking out the window every now and then. I said, I can't imagine myself doing this. One of the head honchos of the bacteria department, he was the head of the entire technical area there, and he was a pathologist, okay? And he would come up to me every now and then, knew that I was previously a chiropractor, and he would say to me, aren't you glad you're not still in that quack school? And every time he said that, it was like he was sticking a knife in me and twisting, you know. He said, you have bigger and better things to do here in bacterial. We want to send you to University of Pittsburgh to get you a BS degree in bacteriology and maybe a master's degree. He said, you're young, you can do it, you can do this. We'll pay for all your education. And I was overwhelmed with that, you know. But still, he was still sticking it to me, like, and that bothered me. And I never forgot that safety pin cycle. He said, you don't have the big idea, but I do. And I don't think that big idea can fit as a bacteriologist. It can fit for somebody else, but not for me. So my wheels started turning right now, and I started making plans on going back to Palmer. And I went back after working there a year and a half. And I'll never forget the last day I worked there. I went into his office. I said, I'm going back to chiropractic college. And I turned around and walked out because I didn't want him to grab me by the arm and say, no, no, no. I never looked back from the time that I first learned the safety pin cycle with Dr. Galen Price. But that was definitely the reinforcing time. When I walked out of that job at St. Francis Hospital Bacteriology Department. And that was it. And I couldn't wait to get back to Palmer.
So.
Now, you asked me, what did I do after graduation?
Yeah. So what did that look like when you came to the state?
You know, being fresh graduate, okay? And I graduated in October, got married in November. Couldn't wait to get married, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Opened our practice at that same time. Small little, had second-hand adjusting tables, everything. Basically, just bare bones.
Yeah.
And my wife, we struggled for a good year and a half, 2 years, just trying to get the practice running, but it just wasn't growing. Sporadic here and there. Half the time I was buying coffee for a patient, okay, just to get him in there to sit down and talk to me for a while. But honestly, truthfully, what came along was my experience with the Life Fellowship in Pennsylvania. These guys were dynamic, okay, and they were avid advertisers. And back in those days, advertising was a no-no. I mean, you were putting yourself up for the state, the attorneys, and the PCS at that time. They were going to pull your license for advertising. That was an absolute fact. I mean, I had them knock on my door and say, you can't do this. And it's unprofessional, it's unethical. And all that. So it's bringing patients into our office because our practice just started growing like wildfire. It's because we started putting we started a little group. There was 6 of us chiropractors in the east suburban area of Pittsburgh. And we would put our little penny saver advertisement in the local paper in there and just talk about chiropractic, okay? And each one of us had our office, our photograph in there. And next thing you know, we all started getting together. But in that little conclave of practitioners, we would get together at least once a week at somebody's house.
Yeah.
So we had little gatherings, like little mini fellowship. See? And then from then, we had a monthly meeting somewhere either in Hershey or in Harrisburg or something like that for the state Pennsylvania Fellowship, okay? And it just grew. I can remember in the mid-70s, early 70s, we had a gathering, and we had this gathering because Blue Cross Blue Shield first initially started coming into play, and the opportunities for chiropractors to be accepted into Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
But there was this huge argument within the fellowship, and certainly with the PCS was there. It was a group meeting, huge, 200-300 practitioners and their families, and it was basically to say, do we want chiropractic included in the Blue Cross Blue Shield? Do we want to follow their protocols? Okay, and a lot of our old timers in the fellowship said, no. You do that, you're going to sell out into the medical fraternity, and you're going to have to play by their rules. You can't play by your chiropractic rules anymore. Okay, you can't say subluxations correct nerve interference and the body heals itself. You're going to have a diagnosis. Hello, which is where we are today.
Yeah.
So now, how would chiropractic would have ever maintained its individuality, or if it would still be here, I really don't know. Okay, but I would be happy. I would be happy putting a box on the wall and say, live by our motto. Our motto was, we accept all patients regardless of condition or financial ability to pay. That was our motto.
Yeah.
And we all thrived. We were all busy. We were all successful. We all had more than we could ever ask for.
Yeah.
But we always had to reinforce that situation and weigh the pros and the cons with getting into it. But once we got into Blue Cross Blue Shield, man, the money started coming in like crazy. So it was hard for anybody to say that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. But the price that eventually we had to pay was, we were really compromising your principle to some degree.
Okay.
Yeah. But things change.
Now, what did those conversations look like when you were discussing with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
There's no question that the PCS at that time was pushing hard for chiropractic acceptance into Blue Cross Blue Shield. No doubt. We still had a good number of fellowship members who definitely wanted to join in with the state Pennsylvania Chiropractic Society and get involved and get coverage by Blue Cross Blue Shield. That was pretty much a no-brainer for a lot of people, okay?
Yeah.
But there was strong individuals within the fellowship said, no way do we want to do this. Of course, they had the opportunity not to. I mean,
Sure.
They could not participate,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Now, did we still have chiropractors who never used any insurance policies or Medicare or anything? Yeah. Are there some today? Sure. Few and far between, but there are a few. Are they functionally practicing? Yeah. Or do they have a very, very limited number of patients that would be involved in their practice? Certainly. It's because the vast majority of people, they can't conceive anything other than a third party or healthcare.
Now, once that change happened, then did you see the profession change as some of the fears that some of your colleagues had with the fellowship at that time?
I think slowly but surely, the
Okay.
vast majority followed suit and went up to the situation and went through the normal requirements and protocols for insurance coverage. Yes, okay. It would be hard for me to conceive the majority of them not, simply because it's where people are going to come to their office from.
Right.
You know, I can't tell you how many times people would rave about the fact that, oh, you're finally accepted by Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was almost like the patients were relieved and comforted. It was almost like you made it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're like real doctors. They had the feeling that if you were accepted by Blue Cross Blue Shield, then you had it made, and you were okay, and you were part of the good guys.
Yeah.
You weren't a renegade anymore or something like that. So it was just a matter of time. You know?
Yeah.
And like inevitable, you could fight it all you want, but the same.
Yeah. So you felt like it was going to happen regardless.
I knew it was going to happen. You had all these people around you saying, "Hey, thank God, you finally made the big time. You've been accepted." Okay.
Yeah.
By who? But did it make any difference in those patients getting better with adjustments? No, had nothing to do with it. But did it allow for probably more people to utilize chiropractic care? No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, because they were locked into a medical insurance plan. If they went to a chiropractor, they couldn't use their medical insurance coverage. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to a chiropractor who does accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medicare. So it really got down to knuckle cracking time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Love it or leave it. You know, you had to do what you felt was in the best interest.
An individual chiropractor, you start taking insurance, and you said that, you know, that brought some flourishing.
Oh, yes.
That occurred. Now, how did that change your practice?
It didn't change my focus to the patient at all. I handled every patient as best I could with the principle that I live by as a chiropractor. But it certainly made the third party situation difficult because we now had to play by rules with Blue Cross Blue Shield. 6 visits, 12 visits. You had to have a diagnosis. You know, previous to Blue Cross Blue Shield, the diagnosis was subluxation. That was the diagnosis. Symptoms, sick. Okay? Ill, disease, I don't care. I had a little 3x5 card.
Yeah.
That was it. What do they have now? Computers full of information and documents and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And diagnostics. And somebody has to review that diagnostic to say that it's okay for you to treat that patient. Okay? Well, what difference did that make as far as the principle of chiropractic? Nothing. I mean, how much better care do people have as a result of being a third-party practitioner than we did back in the original days before? Nothing. It's no better for the patient, okay? Except that the patient is being compensated for it.
Right.
Okay, their care is being paid for by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, now if that's what you want to call improvement, okay. But it doesn't change the fact that that chiropractor has that one thing to do is correct that subluxation.
Now, your involvement with the fellowship and the PCA, how did that mature as you were going through your career?
The fellowship was emotionally brotherhood, sisterhood. Like I said, we had little pockets of practitioners who were avid supporting of each other. We got together weekly, monthly, okay, in each other's homes. When a new practitioner came in, we were always there ready to help him open his office, having a grand opening, and we were there to support them, talking to patients, giving little mini lectures in their offices, okay, advertising, which was a no-no, but we didn't care, okay. The interesting thing about just the advertising issue, the attorneys were on us. The PCS authorities were on us. They were against advertising, saying it's unethical, it's improper. If you look today and watch TV, who's the biggest advertisers now? And what do you see on TV today? 90% of the advertisements are for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You know, where's the ethics there? And they're advertising prescription pharmaceuticals. Directly to who? To the doctors? To the physicians? No. To the public, to the patients. So the patient can't take that advertisement and go into the pharmacy and say, I want this drug. They have to go to their primary care physician or their specialist and say, I want this drug. You know, who's being the doctor there?
Yeah.
I said, so all this goes back to my mind, okay. So for any chiropractor, in my opinion, to still hang on to that safety pin cycle, to that big idea I pat them on the back.
Yeah.
In spite of all the stuff that they have to do and all the requirements that are to maintain his practice and to legally treat his patients, okay, is a miracle to me that we still have chiropractic, and that chiropractic as yet hasn't gone the way.
Maintained our uniqueness.
Under crazy circumstances, to say the least.
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams that I would think in 2025, okay, that we would still have chiropractic.
Yeah.
Okay, remember, I always love what BJ said. He said there's chiropractic, chiropractor, and chiropractoid. Okay? He said, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
He said, tick, tor, or toid. Okay. Meaning, he's a chiropractor, but he's so far removed from the principle of chiropractic. Why? And I always say, why are you a chiropractor? If you want to practice things that aren't chiropractic, go and be a medical doctor, or an osteopath, or a podiatrist. I said, but don't call it chiropractic, because it's not. But that's what his license says. As long as he's practicing within the rules, regulations, and parameters of the state of the chiropractic parameters, he's fine. That's where we're at right now.
Looking back on your career, what would you say the profession has given you?
It's given me everything. It's given me life, purpose, personal satisfaction, just the basic ability to serve, okay? And that's another word that has always been ingrained in me. I was put on this earth to serve, okay? And it just how happens to be as a chiropractor. And I've never, ever questioned that responsibility, no matter what. My job is to serve patients chiropractic, because that's what I was trained to do, and that's what I've accepted to do. And every day, anytime that I saw a patient, I knew that my job was to serve that patient to the best of my ability, above and beyond anything else, regardless of the situation, whether I had an issue or we were having an issue with political circumstance that meant nothing. It was that patient that meant it all. And if I didn't serve that patient to the best of my abilities, then I was prostituting my position, and I refused to do that. I took pride and joy into serving somebody chiropractic care, and I lived to do that. But again, I understood that my job was to serve, and that's what I hopefully did for all these years.
What would you say to the young doc coming out of school, starting their practice on their own in Pennsylvania? What would you say to that person if you had a one-on-one?
Get the big idea, and all else will follow. BJ's words.
Yeah.
Get the big idea, and all else will follow. What's the big idea? The safety pin cycle. That's the glue. That's the thing that maintains you as a chiropractor, or him as a chiropractor, okay? Get that, and get fellowship, get together with your colleagues. They're not your enemies, okay? The guy that just opened the practice right down the street, he's not your enemy. He's your colleague. See, people say to me, I want to go to this town because I remember this, there's no other chiropractors. I want to go there. I said, you're making a big mistake. You're on an island, okay? You're on your own. I want you to go where there's other chiropractors, but I want you to intermingle. I want you to share with those other guys. They have things to offer you. They have experience to offer you. You don't have that experience. Don't be afraid to go and mentor with them. So some of the greatest experiences I ever had early in my practice was going to chiropractors' offices and just following them.
Yeah. Greatest
experiences in the world. And some of the well-renowned chiropractors in the state of Pennsylvania, I had the privilege and the pleasure of spending time with, talking with, and watching them practice. Okay, the list is long.
Yeah.
Big shots, high rollers, guys who had techniques named after them.
Yeah.
Okay, Did I appreciate that back in those days? No. But did I gain from them? Absolutely. Did it integrate some of my techniques and parameters and how I handle patients? Absolutely. And did we have those little enclaves with local fellow practitioners? Yeah, it lifted our spirits. I mean, their experience would lift ours. And when we would go to their offices and have these little public patient information learning areas, okay? Coffee, donuts, cookies, and stuff like that, and just listen to the chiropractic story. And these guys started practices out of nowhere. The next thing you know, as long as they kept that momentum and that spiritual emotion going, their practices grew like wildfire all across the state. It's not to say that people who weren't fellowship members weren't successful. Oh, absolutely they were.
Yeah.
But they had that similar concept. They had that big idea. They had that thing. Now, they had a little different mission as far as political situations concerned. Sure, okay. Were they right? Were they wrong? They were who they were. I would love to see an amalgamation. I don't know how it can happen, okay?
Yeah.
But I would love to see it. I would love to see chiropractic working together under one body.
Yeah.
Okay. We have far too many non-affiliated practitioners out there, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there has to be a way for them to be drawn in to want to be part of an organization, a group. And I would love to see the PCA be able to accomplish that. Like Sid Williams used to say, you gotta love what you're doing. And it has to be 100% passion. 100%. He said, you gotta love it. You have to be totally passionate about it. It's gotta be 24/7. It's gotta be your whole life. If it's not, it's not.
Right.
And that's where from whence I come. They all had a mission, they all had a statement that made an impact on it.
What advice would you give to me as a leader in the PCA? You had touched on a few things about creating unity in the profession.
Your job is tough. There has to be a body where chiropractors can find some degree of comfort in and fellowship in. Fellowship's the key in more. It's not that because I was part of the Life Fellowship and I'm still a strong supporter of Life Fellowship. I'm a strong supporter of Pennsylvania Chiropractic Society and now the Pennsylvania Chiropractic Association because it's chiropractic, okay? As long as it's chiropractic, I'm there, okay? If it's chiropractoid, then I got a problem there, okay? And one of the big differences way back when there was the PCS and the fellowship, when the PCS would have state meetings or gatherings like that, they were very formal. The fellowship, very laid back, okay? I want the kids there, I want the families there. We would take over that place, the fellowship, okay? And man, we were there for 2 or 3 days. We got labeled as being heretic, religious, crazy people, because at the end of the evening, late in the evening, we would have people stand up and testify. Just like at some religious type atmosphere. Get up there and testify. And we would have practitioners, guys, all different levels and degrees of experience, come up here and say, this is what I felt, this is what happened to me. And it would be spiritually lifting.
Yeah.
It could be looked upon as being religious fervorism, okay? But it was for the fact of chiropractic. So here's this guy telling this story about this baby that he took care of, and the baby was looking like it was going to die. Happened to me, okay? He adjusted it, and the baby got well, okay? And it was just, and people sit back there and hearing these stories, story after story after story, people coming up out of the audience just wanting to talk about their experience. That was very spiritually lifting. okay? It wasn't technique. It wasn't office procedure. It wasn't insurance policy. It wasn't liability. It was pure enthusiasm and spiritually lifting. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, could that be? I don't know. But I would love to see individual chiropractors getting together in little pods, okay, like we used to have, and not looking at their fellow chiropractors as being anything less than colleagues. Something to love, okay? And not with this big ego or attitude, I'm better than you, or this is the technique you should be using. If you don't use this technique, I don't want to talk to you. Or, okay, you're using this or you're doing this and I don't do that, you know. You start realizing what it's really saying. Just because you don't do what I do doesn't make it wrong. So what would I tell a young practitioner?
Yeah.
Keep the big idea. I appreciate being here.
Yeah.
It's been many, many years since I've been to any chiropractic large meeting. And just being here and saying hello to some of my old colleagues, and certainly meeting the younger practitioners and anybody associated with it, it lifts my spirits. Of course, I'm prejudiced because I have a son who's giving a seminar here. And I have another son who's taking that seminar here.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed with having two children, two sons that graduated and they are practicing chiropractic. And I've been around them long enough and over situations to see how they struggle with maintaining a practice in this day and age with all the circumstances that go around running a practice. It's not easy. I never had to go through all that stuff, okay? I never had to. Now, was life easier then? It was different. It was all different. Okay? But do I appreciate what they have to go through and all the things that put more pressure on them rather than letting them just focus on being the doctor of chiropractic and correcting that subluxation?
I appreciate the time.
It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And anytime I can ever be of service, I would love to help in any way, shape, or form. If there's anything that my experience could offer PCA in your efforts to amalgamate, which I hope can take place.
Yeah.
I don't know how. That's up to you and your brainstorm. Okay? But if there's anything that I can do to motivate them situations, I would love to do so.
Thank you.
We can do that. We're done? I am a Pennsylvania Doctor of Chiropractic. I have just recently placed my license on inactive as of March 15th, 2025. And I've been in practice up until that time since October of 1966. And I've loved every minute of it. And I hope that every chiropractor who happens to recognize that once I got the big idea and accepted the chiropractic principle, I never looked back. And I don't look back to this day. I just no longer have the blessing and the good fortune of seeing patients. Never ever think twice about that responsibility to share your gift of chiropractic care, because only you can do that. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us for this very special legacy episode of Spinal Chat, a service of the Pennsylvania Chiropractic Association. We are honored to celebrate Dr. Frank Smith, winner of the PCA Legacy Award, and to recognize his decades of service and leadership in advancing chiropractic in Pennsylvania. If you'd like to watch the full video of this conversation, visit the PCA website or our YouTube channel. And as always, please consider supporting PCA's mission by becoming a member, engaging with your local elected officials, and supporting the PCA PAC. Together, we are building on the legacy of leaders like Dr. Smith and shaping the future of chiropractic in Pennsylvania. Until next time, thank you for listening and be well.